Hey, Doc. Just how do you feel like that one got away from you guys?
I thought their pace, their speed eventually got us. I thought fatigue was a factor, but let's give the Pacers a lot of credit. I think Rick Carlisle has done an amazing job. They've created a hell of a team. Not only young, I think the Siakam trade really will change their fortunes going forward. They're just a tough team. Obviously we had guys out and all that, and that's hard, right? But just give them credit. I thought they played terrific and terrific city, terrific franchise.
So what did you see from Dame tonight?
I thought it just took him a while to get going. You could tell off of pick and rolls he didn't have a lot of explosion. Couldn't beat guys early. I thought in the second half he was better, but by that time we were in a hole. It was tough because you want him on the floor, but you also knew that it may take a minute, and in a playoff game 6, you probably don't have that minute. And I just love the fact that he knew he wasn't 100%. There's a lot of players that wouldn't have played tonight, and so just more respect for Dame coming from me because I watched him work out, and he looked good, didn't look great, but the fact that he just wanted to be out there with his guys is pretty cool.
We spent kind of the second half of the season, once you took over, talking about the two-man game with Giannis and Dame. You don't get a second of it in the playoffs.
No.
Where are your thoughts at as the season wraps up?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know where my thoughts are right now. I really like this team. Obviously we're going to have to do some things, right? But never really having the chance to do any of the two-man game that you're talking about with Dame and Giannis. We did it on that West Coast trip, and it was starting to cook, and then I think Dame went out, then Giannis went out. Never, ever, I don't think we had, 2 games with all 3 guys, 4 games with all 3 guys. So we never got a chance to run the 3-man. We never really had a chance to create our offense that we wanted to create. But we'll have that chance. We'll have a camp, and so I'm looking forward to it.
Series, just how would you the effort you got from your guys in general?
The effort was amazing. Listen, last game we were the first team in NBA history to win a game with your 2 best scorers out. I mean, that's history. That's not like one game or 1 year. It's hard to do, man. Take Jokic and Murray away. Go to each team and take their 2 best players away. It's going to be hard. We understood that, but what I loved about our guys is no one wavered. That one guy wavered. Every single guy in that locker room thought, even without those guys, we're still going to win this series. And that says a lot about the character of your team.
Thanks to Obi Toppin and T.J. McConnell, they had a big advantage on bench points. How much were those guys a big factor in today?
They were huge. I think Toppin had a hell of a series overall. Just his energy, his speed, playing multiple positions. He allowed them to switch a lot of stuff. And TJ is just a pain in the ass. He just really is. And he was great. He didn't do great offensively for them, but he was just this pass defensively. He does what he does, and then he buys the coaches, all of us, a bottle of wine. So thank you, TJ. I don't know what that meant, but thank you.
Just coming into the job when you started, you acknowledged that no training camp exactly be a challenge. Just how do you, the challenge and having done it now for half a season? How do you feel about it?
I love it. I have an amazing appreciation for the city I live in, Milwaukee now. It's funny. I was there in college, and I thought a lot about it. Didn't realize how much it would mean to me, honestly, until I got the job. And then I started thinking about all the guys, Hank Raymonds and Rick Majerus, and all the professors at Marquette. And I probably wouldn't be here if I hadn't gone to that school. And so a lot of ways I feel like I'm going to do whatever I can for this franchise. And I really am. I think we can win. I do. I'm going to do everything I can to create that because it means more to me than I think you think for all those reasons. So I'm it's rare. Usually right after the year, you want to go take a break. I can't wait to get started, to get to camp and be able to put all the things we think we need. So.
Following up on that, what does this offseason now look like for you, saying you live in Milwaukee and you want to get things going?
Yeah, just work, I'm going to enjoy it too. That's what we do. We don't have a lot of time, especially coaches these days, to enjoy it. You work through the summer. I'm not set with John yet about where we're going, what we're doing, any of that. It's too early for that. I'm just going to appreciate the guys that I had this year, and then we got to start building.
I know this is your only first year here, but 5 of the last 6 playoffs, the Bucks have dealt with pretty serious injuries.
Yeah.
Missing playoff games, things like that. As you consider the future of this team, how do you think about trying to manage that while still trying to?
Injuries are just part of it. I've had personally just a horrendous streak. Joel, all 3 years in Philadelphia, hurt. Last couple of years with the Clippers with Chris Paul and Blake, hurt. Right? It takes, and I say this all the time, winning is incredibly hard. It takes 12, 15 players turning themselves into one and buying in, your staff being together as one, and then health. And then you still may not win. It's just hard. And you're not going to win unless you're healthy or unless you're really deep. So nothing you can do about it. Giannis plays the way he plays, and we need him to continue to play that way. Dame probably had a season this year where he never really could get in the right condition that he wanted because he didn't know where he was going all summer, and so he couldn't work out. Chris, this may be the healthiest we've seen him, so maybe that's something we can build on. So we'll see.
With Chris, he had such a great series, but did you see him kind of run out of gas
Yeah.
tonight?
And I also thought, bringing Dame back in some ways, he kind of, because he was exhausted, he was like, you go do it. And I thought that was great of him, but I thought we should have involved him way more.
Before you got here, this was one of the best defensive teams in the league. Obviously, they trade out Drew Holiday, but I'm curious, do you see the base of what can still be a great defense?
Yeah, we showed it in spurts. We have to do a couple of things that I know we can do, but we cannot be a bad defensive team and win anything. The numbers say that. You got to be in the top 10 in both, right? Top 5 in one. There's been some outliers, but overall, you got to be a top 10 defense and a top 10 offense. We got the offensive part covered. Now we got to get to the defensive part.
Can Brooks still be a part of that at his age?
No doubt.
You mentioned just some things throughout the course of the season, whether it be coaching staff, you talked about sort of the travel staff in general. Like, do you feel like going forward now you still want to, like, almost implement your, sort of coaching? Like, do you still feel like you've been able to sort of put your stamp in? Is there something going forward that you will be able to do?
Yeah, I do. Obviously, I got to evaluate everything and build the right staff so we can have the right staff and all that stuff. But I absolutely do. It's an advantage now going through the half of the season and coming to camp, then taking a new job. At least I've been with these guys, kind of know how they tick. I kind of know things that you would have never known that. So I think it's an advantage for me coming into next year. Thanks, guys.
Well, what a difficult series, and a lot of respect to Milwaukee's team. They got a bunch of guys over there that you have great respect for anyway. But like Lillard, for example, been playing against him in the West for over a decade, and for him to come back and do what he did today was phenomenal. So a lot of guts there. Middleton was unbelievable in this series. And they're just great competitors, and to knock them out is difficult. It is really difficult. So our guys, congratulations to our guys. First time in 10 years our fans have had this kind of feeling, and so that's a great thing for this city and the state. We'll see who the next opponent is, but I thought our guys, learned an awful lot in this series. It's hard to go through a playoff series against an experienced team like this, as your first time in the playoffs. And we had a lot of guys that were first timers in this, but they learned the things that you need to learn along the way. And, the ability to win the game, win game 2 and get home court advantage was obviously enormous. And we had so many guys that played great. Miles Turner, was the foundation of this effort. He was just phenomenal. Didn't score much today, but his fingerprints were all over this series. Tyrese was great. Siakam was great. Obi Toppin today had a phenomenal game. Can't say enough about the job Nembhard did defensively, the job Aaron did defensively, on both Lillard and Middleton. I mean, these guys are, in my mind, both Hall of Fame players. And so, just really, really, really happy for our guys.
Rick, you mentioned before the playoffs even that the goal wasn't to make it, was to keep going through it. And now the first time in a decade, you said you're moving on. What did this mean to you and this team to actually accomplish this?
Well, I think I just went through all that. I mean, it's so difficult to win a playoff series. You talk about getting to the playoffs, and it's like in college when you have a really good team and you talk about getting to the Final Four, and then all of a sudden just getting to the Final Four is kind of, where your expectation was. You've got to think bigger than that. And, I've said for 2 years now, we're a franchise with big dreams. And, we don't know exactly where this is going to go from here. We don't know who the opponent is. But you have to have big dreams and aspirations, to continue to grow and to continue to push yourself. So the thing I love about our team is that, we're a true team. We've got some great individual players, but we're a group that needs each other. And I think it's something that the people of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana can get behind.
You mentioned just Aaron and Andrew's defense. What impressed you about just your collective defense tonight? I think you held them under 25 in 3 of the 4 quarters. Obviously, a pretty big benchmark for you. Just what did you like about just what you guys did across the board there?
Well, we had to make some adjustments coming into this game. We had to, our poor offense was leading to bad defense. Our crowd was a big factor in this game, and the difference in the series was pressure. And it's very difficult to get, a group of guys to buy into, 94-foot full court pressure on every possession. That's not a fast break. And our guys did it. It was, Siakam was picking up full court, Toppin was picking, everybody was doing it. And so, that allowed us to maintain our pace. And we just felt that, if we could keep pressure on them, that we could make it difficult.
I asked you about resiliency in pregame and how these guys are, were 23-12 and come back in losses.
Well, first of all, let me talk about McConnell, because McConnell, last game had a rough game, and his bounce back today was absolutely phenomenal. I would say in this game, he was the major difference maker, with defensive intensity full court. He knocked in 2 or 3 threes. He got in some difficult hoops around the basket. The crowd was going crazy. That period, late third, early fourth quarter was just, it was something else.
I was just going to go back to that, but for them as a whole, just what makes these guys, what is it about the makeup of this team that makes it good at taking the lesson from a win and a loss and moving on from it without dwelling on it?
Well, Kevin and Chad have done a great job of not only collecting a great group of young, talented players, but great people. And so, we work at communication. We are collaborative with our guys. We make sure they have a voice when we are talking about difficult decisions in a series. And, we're all in the whole thing together, so, and it was pretty clear, coming into this, there was statistical evidence, but there was also evidence as the series progressed that we needed to continue to play a full court defensive game against these guys. So we'll see about the next series. Who knows? It may be a totally different thing. But once again, I just this is one of the reasons we acquired Pascal Siakam, was to have a chance not only to get to the playoffs but to advance in the playoffs. And he showed tonight the kind of difference maker he's been here. And so I should say he showed in this series. He played well tonight, but he's been tremendous, and he's also been a tremendous teammate and a great leader.
Rick, what impressed you most about the way you guys handled this series and just about the way you played in this series?
Well, the emotions of an intense playoff series are, with a young team, are something that can be very challenging. And we just kept talking to them about the importance of poise. It's great to celebrate, but don't allow celebrations to inhibit getting to the next part of the job. And look, we're a team that's got to be emotional, especially at home. That's what gets our crowd into it. And so they all love the game. Tyrese is the ringleader. He just brings an emotional exuberance to our team and to our fan base. And the whole city and state is behind Miles Turner. I mean, this is 9 years. He's never advanced in the playoffs, and he was the foundation of this.
Are you a little bit curious as to how guys who are in their first playoff situation would respond and react?
Well, I guess curious is a good word. I just felt the character of our team would allow our guys to learn on the fly, to take necessary teaching and advice, mentoring, whatever, coaching, whatever you want to call it. And that was the case. I mean, Nembhard's never been in the playoffs. Nesmith has been, but not in this kind of a role. Siakam's won a championship, but he's never been one of the two lead guys on the team. Ty hasn't been in. Miles has been in once or twice, but not advanced. I mean, Obi played some minutes in the playoffs last year. Isaiah's never been in. And TJ was in once, I think, with the bubble team, and I think he was in it with Philadelphia as well. So we have some experience, but for a young group in this generation to be able to accept coaching and communication and all that is such a glorious part of the job, working with these guys.
Well, yeah. How are you feeling about this? I didn't realize that your teams haven't won a playoff series since the championship season. What has this been like for you, just this season and this playoff run?
Yeah, this has been great. I mean, look, when we had to basically squash this thing 2.5 years ago and start over, when you start using the R word, it can get ugly. And it can be, there's teams that were rebuilding for 9 years, And so, Kevin and Chad, struck gold with Tyrese, and it turned out to be a great trade for Sacramento. And then, the Nesmith trade was another important piece. The Toppin acquisition was big, and then we had to figure out which guys were the guys to stay. And Miles and TJ were obvious guys, and then Nembhard in the second round, Siakam in the deal in late January, and you go right on down the line. So it's been super fun with this group. I mean, when you work with a guy like Tyrese Halliburton on a day-to-day basis, I mean, there's nothing better in coaching than that. There just isn't.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Think I'm gonna try to wear, I pull up all brains. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's Indy, ESPN.